You know, when you say the quiet part out loud, it sometimes you have to be like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. Not everybody that says the quiet part out loud brings it back or catches themselves. In fact, I think most of them mean to say the quiet part out loud, knowing that you're either not going to take them seriously or you're going to think that's not what they meant. They meant something else. Now, I'm going to ask you, this might be a little bit racially charged. I get that. And there are going to be people that come at this with a black and white pitchfork. And I'm just asking you to lay it down just for a second and analyze what's said. We're going to obviously understand the who that said it. We'll tackle that near the end, but I just want you to listen to what is said. And based on what is said, you tell me whether or not what is said should have been said. Okay, that's where we'll start first. Should this be said, one, out loud, or even thought quietly? I'm curious about your thought process about it. So let's listen.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right, right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now.
I don't know about that. Um, Most people probably don't farm because they don't know how, one, and probably because there's no option for them to. I can't say that I wouldn't farm. If I had to, I would. Do I want to be able to grow my own stuff so I don't have to shop? Of course, that'd be great. I have no problem saying I would love to have my own food, not have to buy. If I could if I found a way to learn how to rear my own animals and get my own crops going, I understand there's hard work involved in it. I do. But if I'm just maintaining for my family, it is not the same as maintaining for a country, is it? No, it's not. So the equation of trying to say the whole country doesn't want to because they would have to funnel the whole country it's a false equivalency. Most people would love to have their own little gardens where they can go in the morning, pick a cucumber or tomato, put it with their sandwich. And some people would even want to have their little mill to make their own flour and make their own bread. There are some people that are that indigenous. And in fact, it may get to that before too long, but I digress. And there are many people that would love to have their own livestock, own chickens, have their own eggs. They would love to do it. But you know what keeps them from doing that? It's something weird. What's it called? Regulations. Yeah. Like within certain city limits, you can't have these things. So it's not that we don't want to. We're restricted from having it. And in fact, in some states, it's illegal to have them. Speaking of illegal. Anyway, continue.
Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. You're not. We done picking cotton.
Huh? Let me ask you a question here. Who is we? Who is we done picking cotton? Okay, again, I understand that the crowd she might be speaking to might be like her, African American. I get that. Um, but isn't that telling them that they ought not to? Like, what if I do want to pick cotton? What if I had my own cotton field and I had my gin and I had my way to make cloth and I had my way to actually sew my own clothing? What's wrong with that? So because it had a bad ideal back in the day that slaves were picking cotton, I shouldn't pick cotton now, especially if I can be indigenous with it? Are you insane? What if I really want to have my own clothes without having any kind of dyes in it? Or I don't want children's labor to be put into it. I just want to have my own things. What if I am so creative that I can just do like, man, I can go get myself a cotton gin. I can go have myself about an acre worth of cotton. And I'm going to have this and I'm going to make sure I go through it every year. And I'm going to harvest and I'm going to create my own clothes. Is that such a bad thing? So now you're making it a totally negative thing based on something 100 plus years ago, where a handful of people, and it was a handful of people, by the way, wasn't to the billions and millions. It was people back then that had slaves. Now, if you did, mind you, if you were slaves back in the day and you passed on this idea of how to pick cotton, how is that still a bad thing? You're not doing it for massa no more. You're doing it for yourself. Wouldn't that be good? Ingenuity would say that's a good thing. That'd be ingenious if I can just take all of my work. Man, look at that. I can make myself my own clothes. Yeah. In fact, you can have your own cows. After you get the meat, you can skin that thing and make your own cowhide stuff too, including purses. But somehow that's frowned upon. And so you need somebody else who is more, what, creative than you? So that's what you need the illegals for.
We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's. So, I mean, again, let me ask. Again, this might be the elephant in the room. Are plantations the only place that grow cotton? Oh my gosh. You know what else had a bad connotation? I'll tell you what else had a really bad connotation. You might not like this. Volkswagen. People shouldn't buy Volkswagen because of the people, the country where it comes from. You shouldn't buy Volkswagen. Why? Because Germany. Does that make sense to you? No, because it doesn't make sense to me either. So if there's a history of any kind, and I mean, if you go back far enough, everything possibly had a use that was really vile against human beings. You know what? You shouldn't also use wood. You know why? Because wood was used to build torture racks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? You shouldn't use steel. You know why you shouldn't use steel? Because steel is used to make machetes, and machetes cut people. People get stabbed by knives. The logic that she is using is not logical. Yes, slavery happened. Yes, they picked cotton amongst other key items too. Tobacco was also one. So maybe we should just stop tobacco altogether as well. Sugar cane was another one. Should we just stop using sugar? Is that your logic? Or better yet, don't have any American that's black touch any of those things because that's what they used to have on plantations. Have someone else who is also brown do it instead. Did you also know that the Hispanics were also part of the slave trade? That the Spaniards traded their own people? That there was slavery throughout the world, Spain, Mexico, South America? Did you know that? Did you know? And you know what they still use? They still do all the things. They still use agave. They still harvest a bunch of the stuff that was part of their ancestry where it was very vile against them. We're the only ones that seems to have this affinity to just run from something because our ancestors got beat for that, so I'm not touching that because that reminds me. It reminds you of what? I don't see y'all having a problem wearing cotton clothes though. So hear me out. You don't have a problem wearing the clothes, using cotton products, but when it comes to actually harvesting the stuff for your own doing, that's too far. That's a step too far. You'll use the products, no problem, but the process itself and the raw material, that's where I draw the line. We got to get somebody else to touch it first, and if they touch it first, then I can use it. But the quiet part she said out loud was this: "You will never get us to go on a plantation again." Good. We don't want you on a plantation. Nobody wants black people on plantations no more because they don't exist anymore in America. There are no slave owners in America anymore. You cannot go anywhere, absolutely nowhere in America, and find black slaves in America. You can't find them. There's no plantations where they're still picking cotton. So there's no negative connotations anymore to the act because it's no longer happening. However, you can indeed use this process and do your own thing. You see, the more we teach ourselves of how to actually use the land to our benefit, the better off we'll be. I saw this um, thing on X, and there was a group of African Americans that bought, I think, 97 acres worth of land. And their idea was to start a homestead. The problem they encountered is that not many of them knew what to do with said land. They didn't know how to actually do the things that they wanted to, including up to building houses from scratch and not buying lumber, actually milling the lumber, planting, not very versed in that. So they had to start and learn. Now, if they were to look at this from the way Miss Crockett is looking at it, that all the things that possibly the slaves touched you couldn't do, then why have 97 acres? Why have the 97 acres and try to set yourself apart to be like an Amish person if you're not going to willing to learn how to do those things because your ancestors went through something to do with that? Instead, you have to get illegals to do it. But here's the quiet part that she said out loud. That's all you're worth, illegals. You're only worth to come and pick cotton, pick fruit, do menial labor that apparently Americans won't do. Meanwhile, we have things like farmers here, generational farmers, black and white. Meanwhile, we have people who are dying to try their hands at the toiling of soil to bring out the labor of their own hands and eat the produce of the ground. They want to do that. But for some reason, the places that she's actually in power won't let you. They have no problem putting restrictions on what you can and can't do, all in an effort to tell you you can't do it, but the illegals sure can. And they can do it for the same people they say shouldn't be doing it. Make that one make sense. All you would have to do is open up a statement that says, you know what? Regulations and all the things that you could do naturally are gone. You want to buy an acre? Buy an acre. You want to plant wheat? Plant wheat. You want to plant anything? Plant it. It's yours. Have at it. Grow, grow, grow. Heck, you want to sell to your neighbor down the street? Sell it. They won't do that, though. No. Because that's bad. Now, you remember your history? You can't be doing that. We don't need illegals for that, actually. We don't. If you would just let us be government, we would be fine. We could do a whole lot. We could get a lot done. We could learn from each other, and we can start becoming more self-sufficient without you. That's the problem. You want to regulate the things we can and can't do, who and who can't do it, and how you decide what we should look at things like. Well, I refuse to listen to you, Miss Crockett. I, for one, am a fan of cotton. I like the way the cotton feels on me. And if there was ever a way for me to learn how to pick cotton, bet your bottom dollar, I'll pick cotton and make my own clothes. I will pick cotton and make my own socks. I will pick cotton and make my own pillow. That's what I would do. But you know what? You won't allow that. Only big companies can do that. You have to have patents. You have to have these licenses. You have to have this. You have to have that. You have to have a certain kind of way to make it processed. You have all this stuff that didn't exist before, that nothing was going awry before now, but you have to get your hands in there to get the money out of it somehow, some way. That's what you're really trying to say. You need to have a way to regulate where that money goes, and you don't want it to be in the hands of the American people. That's what you really want to say. We see through it. I know you want to plant it as though it's this immigration thing and only the illegals can do this stuff. But if you would just take your chains off of us, Miss Crockett, and the rest of you in politics, we could do a whole lot for ourselves that the government will not be willing to do, or they want to do for a fee. Always a fee. And the fee never comes back to help me. It's weird how that works. But I digress. If y'all think again that only illegals can pick cotton and plants and do all that stuff, then let me know. If you think they should just let us do what we want to do with the land we own and let us actually own the land, let me know. And if you think she's just trying to be hyperbolic with her statements about white people, specifically about cotton and black people picking it, then you also let me know, because I'm still trying to figure out where in America black people are being forced to pick cotton. That'd be great to know. Whatever your thoughts are, please leave them in the comment section below. We'll be reading them, we'll be watching, and I think this one will spark a generous debate between the races. And please keep it friendly, cordial. We're not looking for any kind of bombastic terms to be thrown around in the comment section. Keep all the racist terminologies away on both sides, please, if at all possible. I know it can be a very volatile situation when speaking about things like picking cotton. But if you have to use humor, at least use that rather than trying to be divisive in the comments. But we do look forward to an interaction with you later.
Training athletes, build leaders, changing communities. At Mentors for Life, sponsored by the Bully Me Bad Project, we provide free professional sports training and mentorship to youth with passion, drive, and the desire to grow. We connect them with top-tier coaching and leadership tools that unlock their full potential. Our athletes train with elite professionals like Coach Cedric Booty of CM3, who's worked with NBA players such as Jaden Ivey and Blake Wesley, and the dynamic team of Tevin Lake and Bobo from T2 Sports Performance. Together, they've trained standout athletes including Notre Dame football stars, NFL offensive lineman Danny Piner, and Kyron Williams. In a school or neighborhood of 1,000 youth, 5 redirected lives can mean 5 future leaders, 5 families spared heartbreak, and 5 powerful stories of hope. And this is backed by research from the Money Smart Athlete Foundation, which shows that athletes have a powerful influence on youth behavior, confidence, and long-term success. We don't just build athletes, we build mentors. High school students who complete our program will become certified Mentors for Life members and will be paid to speak, lead, and coach the next generation. To support Mentors for Life, all you have to do is click here if you're on a mobile device, or click here if you're on a computer to donate or learn more. Or you can reach us directly at mentorsforlife574@gmail.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mentors for Life. Donate today and help save our youth.